Marriage, according to Olusanya, is a sacred and permanent contract between a man and a woman who have consented to live a life of fidelity and care for each other for the purpose of promoting their mutual growth and welfare throughout their lives. Olusanya's belief from the above is that parties who commit to the institution of marriage do so for the rest of their lives. Among Christians, it is a social institution that is designed, among other things, by God to be enjoyed by human partners for the rest of their lives. However, since it involves two adults that come together to live as one, conflicts have over time arisen due to religious, cultural, occupational, and social differences. These have over the years shaken marital unions to their very foundations. Ironically, while the early days of marriage are full of memories and expectations, with the passage of time, many couples begin to realize that they may not be the perfect match for each other due to irreconcilable differences. When efforts to resolve these differences fail, the unfortunate outcome is separation, either legally as divorce, while in most cases the couple just separate. For couples that were yet to procreate, the effect is limited. Effects of divorce goes beyond just the couple, even beyond the immediate family members. It also extends to the children's future life and the society. In Nigeria today, issues like armed robbery, drug abuse, sexual immorality, prostitution, and several others have been blamed partly on parental separation. According to the founder of Deeper Christian Life Ministry, William Folorunshaw Kumuyi, popularly addressed as W.F. Kumuyi, homes are breaking at an alarming rate on a daily basis with serious implications on children and society. Some victims of divorce who shared their experiences said divorce is traumatic. They said they have, however, picked up the pieces and are ready to give love a second chance once again.
In my case, it was sweet at the start. Along the line, everything changed. Even when I was still trying to make the marriage work, I did everything to make it stay, but he kept on saying no because he was far away there and I was here. He was there in Jos and I was here in Nasarawa. Seriously and sincerely, the experience is not funny and it's not sweet because you were with this person, you were happy, all of a sudden it tends to tell you I'm not doing again without a valid reason. It's not sweet. Sincerely, if God brings a man, I am open and willing. I will give the man a chance. I will not use another man's experience, punishment to place on this person.
We didn't really spend time together to get to understand each other before I went back to school. So it really played a major role in the divorce. And then we started having issues. We started having different issues. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. And then one thing led to the other up until we stayed for 8 years. Up until when it didn't work out again and we had to part. So it really gives me cause to worry that my child will not have both of us at the same time, bringing her up. For the fact that the first one did not work out well, it doesn't mean that it will never work out. So definitely I will give it a try again and hoping that the next one will be the final one.
In view of the problems caused by parental separation and divorce in Nigeria, a senior pastor with Four Square Gospel Church, Asokoro, Abuja, Reverend Julius Micheliza, who spoke from Christian standpoint, said a lot of marriages are failing because people prepare for the occasion of wedding and not marriage, adding that God hates divorce.
When God created marriage, He didn't create marriage with divorce in mind. It is the hardness of the heart of men that introduced divorce. However, Jesus said, if for any reason one has to undergo that, it should be for unfaithfulness in marriage, when there's infidelity in marriage. So that's the only condition that Jesus gave for divorce. But, we are living in changing times. In a situation where there is violence in the marriage, domestic violence, and the life of one or the both partners in the marriage are at stake, it is advisable, for them to separate than for them to create a scenario where it will lead to injury or fatality, or death.
Similarly, the Chief Imam of Zonal Missionary of FCT Nastat, Abuja, Dr. Sharafuddin Abiagon, said marriages fail because a lot of unprepared individuals rush into it, adding that Islam detests and discourages divorce.
So the stand of Islam on divorce is a detestable act. It's a condemnable act. It's a discouraged act. Even though there is permissibility of it in Islam, but it is a right that is detestable by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah detests it, Allah hates it, Allah dislikes it. So Islam as a religion does not encourage it at all. In fact, Islam frowns at divorce.
With the major religions in the country disapproving of divorce, many then wonder why separation is on the rise.
And so people go in with these rigid ideas and fail to exercise flexibility when issues begin to arise within the relationship. And at that point, everybody is holding on to their opinion, to their position, to the norms that they have been socialized to believe are their roles and responsibilities, are the expectations that the marriage has of them. Unfortunately, there is no room for flexibility, for shifting ground, for even the use of discretion to say, hey, wait, maybe the person who socialized me, who brought me up, did not factor in, for instance, artificial intelligence or the modern day technology, and so did not prepare me for this eventuality. What should I do now? So people are not being practical, on the spot, on time, as far as the analysis of the stressors are concerned and what the possible solutions should be.
One of the factors I can say now is economic factor. The system is harsh and people find it difficult to tolerate one another. If the economy was good and everybody was thriving, there are some certain things that will not bring quarrel between the family. Because as the economy is hard, people become easily agitated and nobody is ready to accommodate the other. So that is one factor. Another factor I've seen is that maybe people don't go into marriage built on love. They go into marriage based on expectations. And when those expectations are not met, then they find it difficult to tolerate one another.
One is ignorance. Number two is impatience. Number three is inexpose of both sides. Number four, absence of consciousness of God. Number five, lack of proper understanding before marriage. Number six, economic reason. Number seven, unnecessary interference of both families.
One, economic factors. Two, a lot of people did not really prepare for the marriage. Most people prepare for the wedding. Wedding is one-day event. Marriage is a lifetime experience. So a lot of people focus on that one-day event, forgetting that marriage is more than just that one-day event.
They speak of likely implications of divorce on children, communities, and the society.
And so we put the children in a situation of, emotional distress, and sometimes it degenerates to their, poor mental health, and it affects their social relationships, how they perform outside when they meet other people. It also may affect their education because they are having to struggle between the things that are, reeling into their head, the fight that is always ongoing in the house. Even if they were grown up, they would suffer heartbreak because the expectation is that my mother loves my father to a point that they shouldn't fight to the point that they have to divorce. And so all of these tensions can affect children in their own relationships eventually, because when they do get married, they are carrying these experiences into their own marriage, especially in a situation where they've not had counselors to help them go through the trauma that they have been through watching their parents, tear each other apart. And so it may affect their own marital relationships, or they may even simply refuse to enter marriage. On society, divorce costs. It costs a lot, especially where the health of the community, the society, is dependent on the health of the individual. The performance, growth, development of the society is dependent on the growth, performance of the individual. And so when the individual is entangled in strife, in bitterness, in anger, in fight, they are no longer as productive as they ought to be. And so that tells eventually on the society and on the community.
Once the aspect of the father or that of the mother is lacking, it has great impact on the development of the children. And that is why nowadays, when the economy is hard and the man will go out to look for source of livelihood, the woman will go out to look for source of livelihood, many parents do not even know the company the children keep. And these are seriously impacted on the well-being of the children. They are either indoctrinated into some bad habit early in life. Some of the vices we see in our communities today emanate as a result of broken marriages.
It affects the self-esteem of the children when their parents are no longer together. Some of the children will go to school. Some other children's daddies will come with their mummies, maybe visiting day or PTA, and then they are there, their daddies are not there. So it affects the children emotionally. It affects their self-esteem. And then, of course, some of the divorces also affect the children economically, because some of the women are not able to cope with the economic challenges that comes with divorce. So it brings poverty, it brings social, emotional problems, and so many things. It's a gamut of problems that actually weigh on the children. And a lot of times you see the children, begin to misbehave.
Once the home is broken, the children cannot be together again. In fact, it affects the psyche, the psychological life of the children. It affects, number one, psychological life. Number two, the educational life of the children. It affects it. Then the morals of the children. It will affect the morality of the children once the parents are not together again. You see, because you have to put hands together, join hands together to bring up your children.
While many have argued that there are cases where divorce is the best option for both parties in a crisis-laden union, a defense lawyer with the Legal Aid Council of Nigeria, Oga Oligu, speaks on what grounds the court can dissolve a marriage under the Matrimonial Causes Act.
But when parties have dispute, instead of resorting into jungle justice, they have to find the civilized way by approaching the court. The bottom line is, once the party says it has become irreconcilable, that the parties can no longer live together as one, the court cannot force them to continue to live together. The court will grant them their request, because that is their prayer before the judge. So the parties can no longer live together as one. That is just the basic.
Oligu also pointed out the government's role in sustaining marriages.
In good economies, in good societies, the education of the child from birth to about the age of 18 is not handled by the parents. is handled by the government. These are some of the basic necessities government should put in place. If the parent is not thinking of how to ensure the child is educated from birth till at the age of 18, they will focus their energy on other things. But here, the health system has collapsed. The educational system has collapsed. The parents have to find a way to ensure that the children are educated. They have to find a way for the Medicare. They have to find a way for the feeding and everything. So it is a big pressure on the parents.
Stakeholders also suggested ways divorce can be curtailed in the society.
Boys and girls need to be socialized differently. Those days, they would socialize the girl in a manner that disempowers her. She's supposed to be weak, she's supposed to be shy, she's supposed to be quiet, she's not supposed to laugh, she's not supposed to report problems to anybody but to bear them. Even if the husband makes her a punching bag, she should take it like that because that's how marriage is. There is just a whole lot of things that are expected of the woman. And in addition to that, these days are all the burdens at workplace. Because those days, maybe she'll just go to family farm and come back. But now she's an executive in an institution. And that is a whole entirely new burden that is added to these ones, So we need to socialize the girls differently these days. Let's make room for their career. Let's make room for the things that they are achieving outside the home in the public sector. But we also need to socialize the male child differently. Because before we socialize him as a go-getter, as someone who is fully in charge, who does not take a no for an answer, who seeks to be in control of other people's life while denying them of control over their own lives, in addition, of course, to the fact that they were supposed to be breadwinners. We also need to have support structures in place. Society likes you to get married, but what support system does the society have for you to fall back on? Our religious institutions have a big responsibility as far as that's concerned, and they must do it in a sensitive and in an educated manner. It's not to carry on with the models that are not helpful in building marriages. No, the same thing with the Muslim community. There's a whole lot in Islam that teaches men how they must, love their wives and treat them with respect and so on and so forth. But all of these things, we allow other traditional things to interfere. And then in the end, there is crisis.
And of course, in preparing for the long haul, there are a lot of things, you must put into consideration. You must cultivate, the virtue of patience. You must cultivate the virtue of aligning your life with the Word of God. In the Word of God, you have forgiveness. In the Word of God, you have tolerance. In the Word of God, you have empathy. And all these things are what contributes to make marriage work.
It is for the preachers, the imams, to educate couples of the importance and significance of their union, giving them sound orientation of the sacredness of the contract they are already into. So give them enough understanding. Expose them. The leaders are expected to expose both parties to their roles, duties, and responsibilities.
Like Oguntoye noted, children may undergo a great level of personal pains when their parents' marriages end, as they may feel hurt, confused, angry, become violent, abandoned, insecure, and feel inferior in relation to their peers. The Planned Parenthood Federation of Nigeria believes that a good family life is important because it is the condition not only for health and happiness, but also for reasonable citizenship, community life, and prosperity. With family believed to be the bedrock of any society, a healthy one produces healthy and crime-free individuals that are peace and safety in any given society.